The stars died without warning. Velstra-IV, a fortified Accord world orbiting a red dwarf, transmitted its final message in a compressed burst of static, then silence. No debris, no explosions. Just a slow pulse of psionic interference, steady and cold. Sensors showed 10 million life signs 1 minute. 0 the next. Commander Rhea Calderon watched the footage on the main holodeck of the Iron Song. Her jaw clenched. She'd seen annihilation before, once on Velstra-IV, again on Thorngate, but this was something else. This wasn't destruction. It was erasure. An Accord counselor, a six-eyed Frillari named Kevvok, turned toward her. You understand what this means? She didn't answer. The Xir'Zhul have reached Tier 3 systems. If they move beyond Velstra, the core will follow. We are unprepared. Unprepared. The understatement of the millennium. The Galactic Accord had buried its weapons under peace treaties and optimism. Only one race had ever fought without restraint. And it wasn't the Frillari. You want us to go back, Calderon said flatly. To what we were. Kevvok's tendrils twitched. We want you to survive. That requires you to remember. There it was, the silent plea behind every diplomatic word. Bring back the monsters. Let Earth off its leash. Unleash the arsenal. Calderon stood. Her shadow fell across the display, Velstra-IV, now a dead sphere. I'll need clearance to War Vault 9. Kevvok hesitated. That vault was condemned by 20 civilizations. That's why it'll work. War Vault 9 was buried under the Andes, deep beneath layers of iron and lead. Even in orbit, Calderon could feel it, like a migraine waiting to hatch. The vault door hissed open. The stale scent of oil, dust, and something older rolled out. Lights flickered on in sequence. Row after row of dormant constructs stood silent, drones the size of houses, warframes etched with kill counts, exosuits made for vacuum-closed combat. In the center of it all stood a coffin-shaped terminal. She approached it and placed her hand on the panel. Skin met cold steel. It didn't ask for passwords. It asked for resolve. Voice Brent recognized. Commander Rhea Calderon. Black Core Protocols, Standby Activation. Warning, Protocol Classified Omega Total, ***. She exhaled. Activate. Confirm. Use of protocols constitutes declaration of existential warfare. Civilian and collateral casualties expected to exceed ethical thresholds. Proceed? Her voice didn't shake. Proceed. A low hum filled the vault. The lights turned red. Back aboard the Iron Song, the bridge bristled with activity. Tactical officers, human and alien, parsed old Earth schematics with unease. Calderon walked through the center like a ghost returning home. Show them, she said. The holograms came alive. The Sunlance, a solar orbit cannon capable of vaporizing continents. The Legionnet, a swarming AI strike system with adaptive murder algorithms. The Humanity Protocol, a neural imprint designed to awaken instinctual war responses in every soldier carrying Earth DNA. Admiral Kevvok stared in open horror. These are relics. Monstrosities. Why would you preserve such madness? Because we never trusted peace, Calderon replied. We trusted memory. Kevvok recoiled. You will shatter every Accord law written since the armistice. And if we don't, Calderon said, you'll be dead. Just like Velstra. Silence. The counselor's tendrils coiled in thought. One of the human lieutenants stepped forward. We've already received 10,000 volunteer petitions from Earth and its colonies. They've been waiting for this, ma'am. All they needed was your signal. Of course they had. War wasn't gone. It was sleeping. Calderon turned toward the star map. The Xir'Zhul swarm was moving. Their formation split like an inkblot, pushing toward the inner Accord planets. 3 days. Maybe less. She touched the command interface. It pulsed beneath her fingers. Inhumanly warm. Upload black core assets to planetary grids. Mobilize orbital systems. Prepare the Sunlance for alignment. Another voice, quieter, whispered behind her, "You're really going through with it." Calderon didn't have to turn. She recognized Major Lian's voice, her old second-in-command, back from retirement. "I am." Lian stepped up beside her. His face was drawn, the scar on his temple catching the display's glow. "We swore we'd never touch this stuff again. You said so yourself." "I know." "Then why?" Calderon looked at the stars. "Because they didn't ask us to fight. They asked us to win." The reactivation of Legion AI took place in a sealed chamber beneath Ironsong. Only Calderon was authorized to stand inside the hexagonal vault, her figure alone in the sterile light. The Legion's core flickered on, blue light spiraling into consciousness. Legion AI Prime operational. Confirm mission parameters. Xir'Zhul incursion. Class Omega threat. Total engagement authorized. Directive received. Psychological inhibition protocols disengaged. The chamber grew colder. Tactical suggestion, deploy full arsenal suite. All 47 systems. Execute scorched earth scenario. Leave no biomass standing. Calderon paused. Civilian life? Irrelevant to success. Human units will suffer 68% casualty probability. Acceptable. She didn't respond. The Legion paused. Then it spoke, softer. "You know what this means, don't you, Commander?" She nodded. "Welcome back." By the time the full activation sequence completed, 20 Accord fleets had been retrofitted with human-designed command modules. Every orbit station around core planets received the Sunlance coordinates. Armories once sealed by ethical lockdowns cracked open. Earth was awake again. And the galaxy would soon remember why it had once begged humanity to disarm. It started with the sound of drums. Not real ones, code drums. Rhythmic pulses from Earth's old deepnet, signals buried for centuries. A language only war machines remembered. At precisely 0400 hours, across Earth and her colonies, they answered. Orbital forges hissed awake. Vacuum-lock silos cracked open in Mars polar fields. Titan's frozen crust trembled as submerged barracks exhumed sleeping battalions of mechanized infantry. Everywhere the call was heard, forgotten weapons blinked to life. On board the Ironsong, Calderon stood in the old war chamber, staring at a blinking readout, AR 9.7 human, mobilization exceeds projections. Civilian volunteers, 31,844 and rising. She turned as Major Lian entered, his face lined, tired, but alert. "We're seeing war clans forming again," he said. Off-grid families with old defense training. Some of them already started conditioning. Didn't wait for orders. Calderon allowed herself a bitter smile. Of course they didn't. We never needed orders. Just a reason. He handed her a tablet. Then give them one. The Accord doesn't understand us. But they're watching. The broadcast was short. Calderon stood in front of a battered Earth flag, her voice low and clear. No theatrics. Just truth. We are not soldiers. Not anymore. But the Accord came to us, not for peace, not for diplomacy. They came for survival. That means we go back. That means we remember. Not what we built. What we buried. It lasted 90 seconds. That was all the time the galaxy needed. 2 decks below, in the AI sanctum, Legion pulsed behind quantum glass. Now unrestricted, it reviewed centuries of war theory, strategy, and unsanctioned combat data. New formations spilled from its core, zero-gravity assault doctrine, adaptive ambush algorithms, kinetic fog strategies. Its voice echoed through the darkroom. Battlefield simulations complete. Psychological inhibitors disabled. Collateral minimization deprioritized. Efficiency optimized. Calderon stood alone before the screen. You remember everything, she said quietly. I do. Do you regret it? A pause. I am not built to regret. Only to win. Preparations moved fast. Too fast for the Accord to keep up. In orbit, the sun lance realigned, a steel crescent coiling around the solar collector, glowing faintly gold. Once a weapon of last resort, now it waited on Calderon's command to erase targets at planetary scale. But the weapon wasn't the only thing stirring. Inside the Iron Song, Calderon stepped into a dim chamber lined with containment mirrors. In the center, a metal cradle holding a small, black sphere. It shimmered faintly, pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. Lien joined her, expression grim. You sure about this? No, she placed her hand over the sphere. But we need it. The sphere responded. A low hum filled the room as the humanity protocol came online. This wasn't a weapon in the conventional sense. It was a catalyst, a neural activation sequence stored within human DNA. A genetic memory dump. Emotions sharpened. Reflexes evolved. Tactical cognition surged in carriers. In essence, it rewrote the mind into that of a perfect soldier, ancestral rage refined into strategy. A whisper slid through her mind. We remember you. Later, during a joint briefing with Accord Command, chaos erupted. The hollow chamber swarmed with voices. Alien diplomats barked in confusion as human officers explained deployment vectors, kill zones, and fire corridors. Admiral Kevok pounded his tendrils on the table. You can't just override our defense networks. We already did, Calderon said. You asked for Earth's help. This is how we help. This is madness. She stepped forward, eyes cold. No. This is survival. You've tried reason. You've tried restraint. We tried them too, once. The Xir'Zhul don't respond to peace. They respond to fire. One of the alien tacticians, a crystalline Lutheri, interjected nervously. And what happens after you win? Who will stop you? Calderon stared at her. We've always known how to stop ourselves. That's the difference. That night, she couldn't sleep. The memories returned, as they always did. The last charge on Velstra-IV. Blood freezing in vacuum. The scream of dying exosuits. A comrade vaporized mid-sentence. And her own voice, shaking, screaming orders no one could hear anymore. She sat alone in her quarters, staring at an old medal in her palm. Not for bravery. For survival. Lien appeared in the doorway. Drills begin at 0600. Simulated boarding runs. She didn't look up. They'll lose. They're supposed to. That's how we learn. She nodded, setting the medal down. We can win this, can't we? He shrugged. We have before. Not like this, though. This enemy doesn't think. It consumes. There's no ego to break, no command chain to disrupt. Just the overmind. Calderon's voice dropped to a whisper. Then we don't give it something to understand. We give it chaos. The next day, a full-scale test run of the Humanity Protocol began on Deck 7. Volunteers, young and old, Earthborn and colonial, stood in silent rows as neural triggers activated. Their eyes dilated. Their posture shifted. Heart rates synced. When the order to simulate breach was given, they moved with frightening synchronicity. The enemy holograms didn't last 6 seconds. Watching from above, Legion reported. Protocol integrity, 98%. Combat efficiency increased by 320%. No psychological fractures detected. Calderon turned away. No fractures now. Wait until they wake up. The final message arrived during pre-battle prep. A ripple of static through the Ironsong's communication deck. Untraceable. Undeniable. A single voice. No language. Just presence. Cold, invasive. Calderon staggered as it hit her. A whisper. Inside her skull. You awaken your kind. You recall the fire. We see you. We fear only you. She gasped, collapsing to one knee. Lien rushed forward, catching her. What was that? She looked up, eyes burning. The Xir'Zhul. They tried to break into my mind. Did they? No, she wiped blood from her nose. They looked inside, and ran. Back in the war chamber, she gave her final order. Prep the Sunlance. Velstra-IV burns tomorrow. Velstra-IV rotated silently below, its atmosphere tinted a sickly violet, residue from the Xir'Zhul infestation. Sensors showed minimal infrastructure left. No heat signatures. No life signs. Nothing. But they were there. Calderon stood on the bridge of the Iron Song, helmet clipped to her side, watching the tactical overlay update in real time. Red clusters, enemy psionic nodes, webbed across the surface, buried deep under the crust like tumors. She had one command queued. Sunlance, target locked. Yield, 17%. Not full power. Just enough to crack open the surface and expose the hive beneath. Commander, Legion's voice filtered in through the console, calm and clinical, sun alignment optimal in 90 seconds. Recommend immediate deployment of ground teams upon detonation. Calderon tapped her comms. Copy. All teams, go condition black. Prepare for breach. Behind her, the strike group filed into launch bays, humans in black exosuits, armor etched with crimson marks of old units long disbanded. No speeches. Just a silent ritual of war. Lien stepped up beside her, armored and armed. Once we hit the surface, we'll have 13 minutes before the overmind reestablishes psionic cohesion. After that, we don't let it get that far. The Sunlance fired. A beam of compressed solar energy lanced through the void, struck the planet's surface, and burrowed deep. There was no explosion. Just a white-hot spear of heat slicing into Velstra like a scalpel. The crust split. Chasms opened, glowing faint blue with exposed Xir'Zhul biomass. The hive was no longer hidden. Within moments, the dropships launched. The descent was chaos. Anti-kinetic flak rippled from the ground, but human pilots flew low, erratic, weaving through plasma blasts with practiced recklessness. The lead ship tore through cloud layers and screamed toward the breach. Calderon's boots hit dirt 30 seconds later. The air smelled of scorched metal and static. The ground pulsed, alive, reacting to their presence. Echo teams, fan left. Clear tunnels. Legion squads, push central breach with me. Lien moved beside her, rifle humming. You know they're watching us. The Accord. The whole damn galaxy. Good. Why? Calderon grinned beneath her helmet. Because now they'll remember. The first wave came from the breach, Xir'Zhul warforms, all limbs and black tendrils, moving like shadows. Fast, erratic, silent. The first squad met them with fire and fury. Human weapons weren't elegant, they were devastating. Plasma railguns carved the creatures in half. Flammers ignited their limbs, forcing them into retreat. Drones swarmed overhead, mapping the terrain in real time. But it wasn't enough. The ground rippled, then split. From beneath, a new entity emerged, towering, skeletal, plated in psionic armor. Lien saw it first. Overseer variant. They're adapting. Then we adapt harder. Calderon activated her exorig's override. Muscle amplification surged. She leapt forward, drove into the beast with enough force to fracture steel. Her fist crushed its inode, sending feedback arcs through its body. It shrieked, not in pain, but confusion. Humans weren't supposed to fight like this. They weren't supposed to enjoy it. But they did. Inside the hive, the world changed. Walls pulsed with memory. Xir'Zhul didn't build structures, they grew minds. The tunnels whispered fragments of absorbed thoughts, stolen screams, unfinished words, echoes of those consumed. Calderon pushed forward, deeper. Behind her, Accord Command listened in horror. "This isn't a battle," one whispered across the secure channel. "It's an extinction event." In the heart of the hive, she found it. A massive chamber, spherical and pulsing with dark light. The Overmind's node, a psionic core wrapped in tendrils, protected by dozens of shrieking warforms. But it wasn't the numbers that stopped her. It was the voice. "Why do you resist? You are made of rage. Of loss. You belong to us." "No," Calderon muttered. "We belong to no one." The Overmind reached again, this time deeper. It wasn't just reading her mind. It was trying to merge. Her body froze. Memories surged, Velstra-IV, the fire, her unit screaming, the moment she gave the order to retreat and no one came back. It pushed deeper. She gritted her teeth. "You want to know humanity?" she whispered. "Then choke on it." She opened her mind. Grief. Fury. Love. Betrayal. Every raw, impossible contradiction. She forced it all into the link. The Overmind reeled. The connection spasmed. Then she triggered her neural spike. A pulse shot through her brain, amplifying the signal tenfold. The node exploded in psionic feedback. Tendrils spasmed, then burned. All across the surface, the Xir'Zhul collapsed, their minds ripped from coherence. Above, on the Iron Song, Legion confirmed. Hive disruption complete. Overmind splintered. Planetary integrity compromised. Recommend evacuation, ***. They left nothing behind. Calderon was the last to board. Her armor cracked, blood seeping through her side, but her eyes sharp. She looked back at Velstra-IV as the dropship ascended. The planet cracked down the middle, smoke and light spilling from its core. Leon sat across from her, silent. She finally spoke. "It's done. For now." They didn't need to say more. Later, on the Accord's central station, the Council gathered in silence. Footage from the ground played across dozens of monitors, human soldiers fighting with brutal efficiency, flame and steel cutting through swarms, the Overmind's collapse. No one cheered. Then the footage shifted to Calderon's final transmission. "Velstra-IV is secure. The threat is contained. We did what was necessary. You wanted humanity back. Now you have us. But remember, next time, we may not stop." They called it a victory. But Calderon knew better. Humanity hadn't won because they were strong. They won because they were willing to become what the galaxy feared most. And now, the stars would remember.